Welcome aboard to the Middle School STEM Teachers Lounge. It's the live stream that's meant to be the teacher's lounge for the middle school STEM teacher. But it's not the teacher's lounge where we just complain about everything and talk about how much the kids suck and how much the admin sucks and how much everything sucks. There are places for that, but this isn't the place for that. Reddit's a good place for that. Twitter's a good place for that. Today, I wanted to talk about some of the things that have been keeping me excited about teaching. I want to talk about big picture stuff that's kind of like what's got me engaged in teaching since the beginning. What is it about teaching that keeps me engaged? I want to talk about actual places that I go online, be it Instagram accounts that I follow, YouTube channels that I follow, podcasts that I listen to that are really inspiring to me and help me get excited about teaching, as well as like, what do I do besides teaching that helps support what I'm doing in the classroom? What do I do besides teaching that energizes me for what I want to do in the classroom? So, if you're new here, if the first time you're tuning in, my name is Tom Gibson, and this channel is all about helping middle school STEM teachers design an engaging classroom experience for their students and a fulfilling teaching experience for themselves. And so today we're going to be focusing a little bit on both, but really on the fulfilling aspect of things. And so I thought I would start with what it is that has kept me engaged in teaching since I started. I did not plan on becoming a teacher. I studied audio engineering, hence the nice microphones that you see here and the cameras and all the tech that I got going on and the multi-camera angles that you can kind of see. Some copy here. Another microphone that I use here for my other videos, but I studied audio engineering and wasn't planning on getting into teaching, but certain things led me to teaching, and I found myself substituting for a middle school math classroom. And it was the worst. It was the worst experience. That very first day, no lesson plans. I was going to go in there and change some students' lives and make a difference in their lives, but none of that happened. Kids walked all over me. They wanted to go to the bathroom. I said, no, you can't go to the bathroom. And then they started arguing with me. What do you mean you can't go to the bathroom? You're really not going to let us go to the bathroom? I'm about to pee my pants right now. You're not going to let me go to the bathroom? And I'm like, you're not supposed to go to the bathroom. You can wait till you're done. I'm going to the bathroom. Oh my gosh, she went to the bathroom. She just left. It was the worst. And I remember just thinking like, this is a problem. This is a problem that has a solution. This is a problem that I can solve, and I don't know how to do it, but I want to figure it out. And then the following months, I was substitute teaching from kindergarten to seniors in high school, experimenting, seeing how I could talk to the students in a way that they would want to listen to me, seeing how I could engage the students in a way that they would actually do their work, seeing how I could keep them engaged when there was no work to be done because the lesson plans were garbage and they weren't there and they weren't written, or they took 8 minutes of a 45-minute class. And I started to find things that worked. I started to find things that, when you respect the kids and respectfully ask them to do things, they generally will follow through. When you wait for students to stop talking, they will stop. As opposed to saying, please stop talking. Hello, please stop talking. And it just becomes noise. I started finding all these little things. And I really saw this as like a puzzle to be solved, as a game to be figured out. Like, what are the rules? What are the things that are going to work here? And that's not a very that's not a very sexy idea of like, the thing that keeps me excited about teaching since the beginning has been problem solving, because it's like, what does that even mean? But that's what it's meant for me since the day that I was a sub to the day that I went in as a first year teacher. And I'm like, okay, the kids are not having a great time, and I seem to be running this classroom like it was like a prison. That's a problem. How do I solve that problem? How do I get the kids more engaged? How do I get the kids more into what we're doing? How do I make this less of a terrible experience for them and for me? And that was what I worked on those first few years, and it led to my third year. The problem was math is hard. Math is hard for a lot of these kids, and me teaching up at the board and doing problems and doing notes is not working. I hear about this flipped classroom thing where I make videos. Maybe I could figure out a way to do that in a way that's engaging to the kids, in a way that makes sense to them, in a way that frees up time so I can work more one-on-one. It was a problem that I was trying to solve, and then the flipped classroom at the time, and in a lot of ways now, was a solution. The transition to middle school. I remember the summer between my teaching 5th grade and teaching 6th and 7th grade math, new school and everything. And I got this book that was all about math workshops because for me, the problem was like, I don't really know how to teach math in middle school in different class periods and make it like where they're asking questions. And I've done this flipped classroom thing, but is that going to work in this new context? How do I make my class more of something where kids are curious about math? That was the problem. And the solution was to read a book on math workshops in the classroom. And years later, a book by the National Council of Teachers of Mathematics on how do you create engaging discussion and dialogue in your classroom. It was a problem that I was like, I'm really curious about how to solve this. The beginning of remote teaching about a year ago, I was on paternity leave. The problem was, how do I equip a teacher to do remote teaching when I've never done it myself and I'm writing long-term sub-plans? And so I started listening to podcasts and tuning in on Twitter and seeing what people were talking about because I found it an interesting problem and I wanted to solve it. I wanted to solve it for the sake of my substitute and for the sake of my kids and give him the support that he needed to be able to support my kids. But it was a problem that I found interesting and complicated and complex and that I wanted to solve. To the problem of this year, of starting the year in remote teaching and having a lot of the same thoughts of last year when I was equipping my substitute, but now for myself, how do I engage these kids? How do I get them involved in the work that we're doing? How do I get them to show up to class? How do I get them excited about this thing that we're doing on the Zooms and calling it school? How do I make it work? It was a problem to be solved. My whole teaching career has been problems that I'm looking to solve. And they are very complex problems. And for me, and I think for a lot of educators, teaching was the first time that I saw these types of problems and was eager to solve them. I said I studied audio engineering when I was in college. I was not eager to figure out how to make this other band's album sound really awesome. I was eager to work on my own projects, my own video and audio projects, but it wasn't a problem that I found myself thinking about and trying to strategize on how to solve and figure out. I just wasn't as into creating music and making albums for other artists like I was when I found I was thinking so much about how to actually do this teaching thing well, how to solve this complex problem of how do you become a teacher? How do you be a good teacher? And so that is what has kept me kind of going, even now, like keeps me excited and engaged with education, with teaching. And I know that it's difficult. I know that it's challenging, and it's even harder because now it's like these problems that we're solving, we don't even get to enjoy the fruits of solving these problems for a long period of time, because it's like, yeah, a year is a long time, but in the grand scheme of things, figuring out how to do remote teaching, figuring out how to do remote hybrid teaching, it's not something like, I'm going to be able to do hybrid teaching in a year from now and learn from the things that I've done now. There will be lessons of things that I do now that I carry on even after hybrid is over and things are back to normal. But it's so much time and effort's going into something that's temporary, which kind of stinks, and I know can be pretty deflating. But I wanted to share also some of the places that I've been going to feel excited about teaching, to see what other teachers are doing in the classroom that I'm like, that's interesting. That helps me solve the problem of figuring out how to do this hybrid or this remote teaching thing pretty well. What are they doing? How can I adapt that? And so let's take a look on on YouTube. YouTube is one of the spots that I like to go. I don't spend a ton of time on YouTube following other teachers. There's a few that I follow, like CJ Reynolds here. His channel is called Real Rap with Reynolds. He just uploaded a video the other day talking about student voice and student engagement. And CJ is the kind of teacher that when he talks, it's like, oh, that gets me excited about what's going on in the classroom. That gets me excited to kind of figure out this hybrid thing, this remote teaching thing. As difficult and as challenging as it is, knowing that another teacher like CJ, he's struggling, but he's finding ways to connect with his kids, it gives me ideas. It inspires me. And I like to be around teachers like that, whether I'm only around them virtually on YouTube or on Instagram. But that fuels me. That gets me more excited about it than seeing teachers that are talking about, that are complaining, about how difficult everything is without offering solutions. And I know that it's hard because that's what social media is for a lot of people, is like their place to vent. But I like to surround myself with people that are trying to find solutions to these problems, because that's what I'm trying to do. And so I really recommend checking out this newest video by CJ that's called 5 Ways to Amplify Student Voice to Create Students. But anything really by CJ is going to be, it gets me excited about teaching, and that's the kind of people that I want to be around. The new EdTech Classroom is another channel that has been really helpful. It's Sam Carey. You have probably watched one of his tutorials at some point during this whole pandemic, because he has just literally created a tutorial for almost every single EdTech tool out there. And he just came out, he just did a partnership. Let me turn on some audio here. He just did a partnership with, let's see, can you hear that?
And design your background the way that you...
There we go. With Matt Miller of Ditch That Textbook brand. And I have not even gotten a chance to get through this whole video. It's 25 minutes long. I've used Jamboard. I've even had like my own Jamboard video on how I actually get students to collaborate and breakout rooms with Jamboard. But they take it to a whole new level in this video and talk about so many different things that you can do with Jamboard. My recommendation for these types of videos is, I would not feel super overwhelmed. This is cool. They made a GIF of themselves and put them in the Jamboard.
If you really want to make an impression.
I wouldn't feel overwhelmed. It's really easy to feel overwhelmed with videos like this, where it's like 25 minutes of ideas, and you're like, oh my gosh, that's so many things. I don't even know where to start. I would skim through videos like this, almost like I'm doing now, and then just kind of pick one thing that you're like, oh, okay, that's cool. That actually gets me excited. I'm kind of excited about trying this with my kids now. This is going to be different. Particularly with my kids, they're kind of burnt out on Jamboard because I think a lot of teachers are using it. And they're like, another Jamboard, and every time I write, it gets erased, and I don't want to do another. But this video gives you so many ideas of what you can do that's a little bit different and is really optimized for Jamboard. Some of the things that I think I could probably do on Google Slides instead of Jamboard. But Sam Carey's new EdTech Classroom, it's a good place to go to kind of give you some ideas. It's a good place that I go to kind of get excited about trying new things, or trying things that I've used. Let me go back. Instead of trying new things, trying things that I've been doing that I haven't seen as much success with. That's a problem. Guys like Sam Carey and Matt Miller are offering a solution to give me new ideas for that. Instagram is another place that I go. I don't spend as much time on Instagram finding things that are inspiring for teaching. I do share stuff there that is hopefully helpful, but Darren Nakakihara, I've gotten to connect with Darren actually quite a bit, and we were even just joking yesterday how we are like living parallel lives because we are so into the world of like technology, and like his home setup is really similar to mine, and like got all these different peripherals and cameras and microphones and monitors and changing camera angles and things like that I told him, like, it's just a matter of time before you get the A10 Mini, which is the device that I have that I can actually do a couple different things with and switch around stuff like that. But I like Darren a lot. He posts a lot of stuff when it comes to educational technology, and not so much of like ed tech tools, but just like workflow with like Google Chrome and Google Google Sheets and all these Google apps and everything. And I like what he shares. I'm like, oh, that's fun. That's cool. Like ways to make your teaching life a little bit easier using these tools. Less about like the lessons that you're teaching with the kids, more of like how to make Zoom better, how to make Google email better, how to make Google Chrome better. When it comes to Facebook, this Sunday, I had posted a new video on different the places that I go that I find to be the most helpful when it comes to teaching. And I said Facebook groups. I like Facebook groups really more than any other social media when it comes to actual resources. And I talked about it in the video on like why I like it better than Twitter and Instagram and Teachers Pay Teachers and Pinterest. But a lot of the things here, questions that people ask, a lot of times I'll just like, if I see it and I've got an idea, I'll share some ideas. But this is really where I go when I'm like, I have a question about how to do something in my coding and robotics class. And you see I'm a part of a lot of different groups. CJ's got his own group community there as well. You can see that there on the left. Not a ton of the groups that I'm a part of are just basically teacher based. Modern classrooms, I'm about to talk about this one in a second, but this is about self-paced learning. And so this has been good to kind of have a place to be able to ask questions about that. That's actually the next resource I'm going to share. And some of the other ones, these math ones, where are they? Anytime U-Cubed is a really good one. One of the things that I did mention in my video on Sunday was you do need to be careful with some of these groups in that you'll ask a question about like, how do you teach this? This is what I'm planning to do so far. And I'm just trying to take it. How do you do it? Or how can I solve this problem? And sometimes people will just completely tell you everything you're doing is wrong and just be like, why are you doing it that way? You should try it this way anyways. And it's like, I don't have time to reinvent the wheel. I know this is not a perfect wheel, but can someone just help me with this small problem that I have with this wheel that I'm making that's not perfect? So just be mindful of that whenever you're asking questions on Facebook groups. But those have been really helpful in just kind of getting ideas, particularly since I taught physical science for the first time this year, and I really did not know where to start, what to do. And so that's where I've been spending some time to get some teacher resources. So YouTube, Instagram, Facebook groups, podcasts. This is the blog post of a podcast called The Cult of Pedagogy. Very popular educational podcast. And this was one of the episodes, how to create a self-paced classroom, that actually got me thinking of like wanting to like change trajectories on how I was doing things in the classroom. This was all from a group called The Modern Classroom, which was that Facebook group that I mentioned over here. But like, how do you actually create this self-paced classroom? You create video tutorials for your kids. They go at their own pace, and then they take an assessment when they are ready. So many questions come up when you think about something like that, where it's like, well, how do you keep them on track? How do you know where they're at? What if they're not watching the videos? What about students that just keep falling behind? What about the kids that get way ahead? There's so many questions. They talked about a lot of that in this podcast, and it got me excited. I'm like, okay, there are people that are doing this that can answer some of these questions, and they have a free course. They give some ideas of how to keep track of where students are at and things to keep students motivated and how you keep still a sense of collaboration in there. But they have a free course called The Modern. Where is it? I thought it'd be referenced here. The Modern Classroom, free online course right there. So I went through most of this course, especially the main parts, because the video stuff, like creating videos and everything, like I kind of felt I had a handle on that already. But this really kind of answered the questions as far as like, I needed to see examples of how teachers were keeping track of where their students were at and their progress. How they were doing the assessments. And so this was really helpful. If you just go to modernclassrooms.org or learn.modernclassrooms.org, it'll take you there. And that got me pretty excited. And I actually invited other teachers on my that I work with to say like, hey, does anyone else want to take this course with me? And I know it was another one of those things where it's like everyone's already got so many things going on. But for me, this really helped solve one of my problems very directly. I was bought into the idea of it. I just needed a little bit more guidance on like how to make it happen. And that's where the modern classroom kind of came in to help me along those lines. And so I said a little bit earlier, be mindful of where you spend your time on social media. And I wouldn't even say avoid places where people are complaining because I think there's a place for that, particularly if you don't have anyone in your life that really understands the challenges of teaching and you need a place to kind of say like, this is why things are very hard right now. And I just need to say that. And I need to say that to people who understand me. And there's a place for that. And even like I will go on Reddit, sometimes the teacher groups on Reddit, and man, some people are going through some rough situations. I saw a post by a teacher that was a first-year teacher, and they just went to hybrid, and there was no support, and the kids can't touch anything. They can't play outside. They're kicking rocks to each other. He found a deflated soccer ball. He said it was more depressing to watch the kids kick a deflated soccer ball around, and just the lack of support. And like he had more students in his class than any other teacher. And I'm just like, gosh, that is a challenge. And I think sometimes when you're in a spot like that, there is something to be said about being able to voice that challenge and that hardship with people that understand. And so I think there are places like Reddit, there are places like Twitter, there are places like Reddit or like Facebook groups that can happen. But I wouldn't stay there. I don't want to stay there. I want to move past that. I want to find a solution, maybe not a perfect solution. I don't think there is a perfect solution for the imperfect system that we are now currently teaching in, particularly if you're in hybrid. Because like right now, like there's so many problems with the hybrid. Like I think of my first week of hybrid, which was a couple weeks ago, and thinking like, I want to give the kids an engaging in-class experience, but I don't have the time to create two different lesson plans of kids that are in class and the kids that are at home. And then if I'm doing stuff separate that are with the kids that are in class, like how much more am I going to be able to attend to the kids that are at home learning on Zoom? And the kids that are in class are not in class the entire time. They're only in class Mondays and Tuesdays. And then they're learning from home on Thursdays and Fridays, while the other half that is in person comes. And I don't have everyone coming in person. Some are completely staying remote. So it's not even something where I can necessarily say, all right, when you're at home, this is what you're going to work on this week. And when you're in person, this is what you're going to work on this week, because that's not everyone. Some are not going to be in person. And so those are now the problems that I'm trying to solve. And like the first or second day, I tried to do a little bit of a discussion. And then the audio problems. Like I'm an audio engineer, or I wouldn't say I'm an audio engineer. That's like a disservice to the actual audio engineers. I have a bachelor's of science in audio engineering, and I'm like, there's got to be a better way to solve this audio feedback problem where the kids at home can't hear the kids in class, and when the kids in class unmute themselves, and then my speaker is still on, the feedback loop starts, and so I'm like trying to mute myself when that student in class unmutes themselves, and then I'm like not paying attention to what they're saying because I'm trying to focus on the muting and the unmuting, because I want to unmute so that way if someone responds at home pretty quickly and promptly, we can actually hear them. So there's a lot of challenges, but I don't want to just stay in this place where I'm just constantly saying, this sucks. This is so hard. It does suck. And it is hard, but there are solutions. Imperfect solutions at that, but I am going to seek out those solutions. I am going to seek out the answers to some of these problems, no matter how imperfect they are. And so right now, my imperfect answer is everyone's on Zoom. Whether you're in class or at home, you're going to open up your computer, you're going to log into Zoom, I'm going to share things with everyone. And then even if you're in person, in order to maintain 6 feet, I'm going to join you in a breakout room so you can share your screen. Granted, we can keep our mics muted because I can just hear you right here, but you're going to share the most bizarre situation that I was like, what is this world that we're teaching in happened a couple weeks ago. A student, they typically record a screencast for a math assessment. One of my students, she's like, do I have to do the screencast since I can just explain it to you? It's like, well, I don't want to just like go and have her sit next to me because I'd like to maintain 6 feet of distance, but I don't want to like sit way back here and be like, what does that say? So she's like, we're sitting outside because there's some places outside that we can have class outdoors. I'm at one picnic table and she's at another picnic table across from me. And I'm in her breakout room. And I'm like, okay, well, just show the camera your work and then I'll just look at it on my screen and then we'll dialogue. And so she's showing the camera. I see her showing the camera and then I see her on my computer and she's walking through the problem. And I'm like, man, this is so bizarre. But it was a solution. It was a solution to the problem in the time, however imperfect it is. And so those are two things. First, for me, the thing that keeps me excited is seeing teaching and education and as a very complex problem to solve. Lots of tiny problems to make up one big problem of like, how do you teach well in the context that you're in right now? The second is finding inspiration and ideas and resources online via YouTube, like guys like CJ Reynolds and Sam Carey. Instagram, like Darren Nakakihara, who I feel is a kindred spirit of mine, to Facebook groups, to podcasts like The Cult of Pedagogy, and then being mindful of where you spend your time, not just looking at all the complaints and not just complaining yourself, but finding a solution, as imperfect as the solution may be, to continue to press forward. And the last thing is balance. This live stream may go longer because I'm on spring break, so I don't have to limit it to 30 minutes. So feel free to stick around. I mean, who actually even knows when the podcast would stream? The live stream is going to end anyways. Balance in not just working on schoolwork. I would not be nearly as excited about schoolwork and education and teaching if all I did was schoolwork and education and teaching. My daily schedule. I wake up super early. I wake up so stupidly early that I don't want to say it because people will be like, that is so stupid. But I wake up early because I like to wake up early. I've been waking up early since before my baby was born. And now it's like even more. So now that she's a year old, I'm like, if I want to get some stuff done for myself, then I need to make it happen before everybody else wakes up. So I wake up early. I usually read the Bible or another book. I'm reading a book by Matt Chandler, who's a pastor in Texas, called To Live is Christ and to Die is Gain, which is based off a passage in the book of Philippians, and he's really just breaking down the book of Philippians. So it's either the Bible or another devotional, just to kind of be... I am a Christian first, and so like having my mind and my thoughts there at the beginning of the day is really important to me. Many days I'm reading and I have to fight to keep my mind from like going to the to-do list, but it's a good way to really just center me and to focus on the things that, that I want to identify most with. And so I read my Bible, I spend some time praying, and then I work on some stuff in the morning. For me, a lot of that is usually Tom Gibson Media, which is my educational consulting brand, which is the YouTube channel, the Instagram account, the consulting, the online courses, the professional development. All of that stuff is Tom Gibson Media. And so I work on that stuff because it really energizes me. It happens to also support the work that I'm doing in the classroom because it forces me to be more reflective in nature and what I'm doing and what I'm sharing online, like even planning for this live stream this morning. And so I do a lot of that stuff early in the morning. It's fun. It's energizing. I like it. I like the game of business and entrepreneurship. And that's where a lot of the times where I do that. And then in the morning during spring break, I go for a run, with my baby little girl. She's 1 year old. She's in the little stroller and we go for a run. And that's a lot of fun. That's getting me outside. She loves to be outside. She loves to get the big full on, just taking in the world, the trees, the grass, the wind, everything. And so I really like to run. During spring break, I'm doing that during the mornings with her. Often during the school year or non-break times, I'll run in the afternoon after work while she's taking her afternoon nap. And a lot of times in the morning, I will chat with friends. I will chat with family. I'll FaceTime with family, with me and little Audrey. Tomorrow, I've got a phone call in the morning while I'm playing with Audrey, with one of my friends from college that I have not talked to in like 8 months or something, and just catching up and connecting and seeing how things are going with him. And then the afternoon, this is my spring break schedule. It probably would have been more helpful to talk about it like a regular school year schedule, school day schedule. But the only thing that's different is like I still wake up early and do all that stuff, and then I go to school, and then I come home, and then run, and then after I run, I make dinner. I like to make dinner for the family, and that's prepping Audrey's food. She's got her own little portions of different foods that she's eating, as well as me and Sarah's dinner. And then we often go for a walk in the evening. After 5 o'clock, that's when I start doing all the dinner stuff. I really try to put down any work, whether it's business related or school related, and really spend some time with the family. We go on a walk after dinner. Now with daylight savings, it's like brighter outside, and it's nicer to go after dinner. And just being outside. It's nice. It's getting fresh air. And a lot of times I'll do dishes afterwards while Sarah's kind of getting Audrey all ready for bed. I like to just watch YouTube videos. Most of the time, it has nothing to do with teaching. Sometimes it has to do with business. Sometimes it's news. Sometimes it's just funny videos. Sometimes it's tech reviews. I love to read or watch microphone reviews on YouTube. Like that's my thing. With the audio engineering background, makes sense. You wouldn't believe how many different videos I watched before I got this microphone. Yes, Teachers on Fire, the family walks, great screen-free option. Yes, and then me and Sarah with those walks, we try to avoid even like taking our phones out. We might play some music, but they're good. I'm glad you're joining us, Tim. Unless that's someone from your team chatting on the chat. And so I love watching YouTube. That's kind of my way of decompressing, and just enjoying watching stuff. And I do that usually when I'm doing the dishes. And then at the end of the night, I watch TV with Sarah, and then we get ready for bed. And last night we watched The Bachelor, the after the last rose ceremony. Yes, we watched The Bachelor. And as much as I'd like to be all like, oh, Sarah wants to watch it, and I just put up with it, I was like, are we watching The Bachelor tonight? Because man, that show or The Bachelorette is just a disaster all the time, and you just can't look away. And so like that schedule, most of that time I'm not working on school stuff. Good, it's Tim there. Love your stuff. We'll need to check your description for the link of your mic of choice. Yeah, this microphone, I don't have it in the description right now, but it's the Shure MV7. For any other audiophiles out there, the good thing about this one is that it's Bluetooth and XLR. And when it's Bluetooth, you can use a little built-in app to run some processing, run some compression, run some limiting while it's being used, which is good because usually unless you have outboard gear, you can't do that stuff unless it's in post-processing. A lot of you may not have understood any of that, and that's okay. But the reason I shared all that was because that's how I maintain balance. And if I force myself to work in those little pockets of time at the beginning of the day, or maybe in the afternoon after my run before we get ready to make dinner and everything like that. I made a video a couple of weeks ago on if you actually limit yourself to shorter periods of time, you're likely still going to get the same amount of work done than if you gave yourself more time to do it. And so that's how I keep myself balanced. Tom Gibson Media, all this business stuff, YouTube stuff, Instagram stuff, it's really energizing to me, and it does support the work that I do in the classroom, but you don't need to have something on the side that is school related. For many people, I think if they're on the verge of just feeling burnt out, I recommend that it is not school related. I know a lot of people that do knitting. I know a lot of people that just love to read. I know a lot of people that love to game. A lot of people that are just doing their own side hustles, and they enjoy the spirit of the side hustle game. Tim here, Teachers on Fire, I know has got the podcast. And so if he's anything like me, the podcast energizes him, and it supports the work that he's doing in the classroom as well as other teachers. And so I think it's just important to have something outside. My wife loves puzzles. She loves doing these little paint by numbers, these really complex Harry Potter paint by number things. And so a lot of times she'll work on those in the evenings just to kind of, and she's a pediatrician, just to kind of like, decompress and not think about or worry about work. But again, you have to find something that you like to do outside of teaching in order to give you the energy when you come back into the teaching mindset. And with the good thing about Time Gibson Media, though, it does keep me reflective in nature. There we go. Okay, I don't know what happened there. What's up, Chris? Good to see you. Chris and Tim in the house. Actually in class. Oh, good. And I'm glad to keep you on task with your kids. You're just getting a little stepping out. I cannot say that I have not hopped on to YouTube while I was remote teaching when everyone was in a breakout room, and I was like, well, no one needs my help, so I'm just gonna go see what's going on Twitter. Not the best practice, but you've all done it too. So, near the end of every live stream, I like to give back to the middle school STEM community. With all the money that I make with Tom Gibson Media, with this YouTube, with my online courses, with professional development, I always take a portion of that and I put it aside to give back to the middle school STEM community. And the way that I do that is I go to Donors Choose, and then I find, see teachers projects. I find a middle school STEM project. I give $50 each time. Oh, you're in person. Nice. Good. Well, I'm glad that your students could hear the air horn. They've got maybe the Zelda treasure, if anyone can recognize it. Little treasures abound that I'm going to be doing. Which platform are you impressed using to stream? So impressed by the HD quality and real time. Well, Tim, I am using OBS I am using an ATEM Mini. It's a little out of frame here, but I've got one camera, I've got two cameras plugged into it, and then I've got my laptop plugged into it, and I can just switch between them. So my laptop is actually an input into the ATEM Mini, and the ATEM Mini is going out into a cam link into my Mac Mini. Everything's mini around here. And I just have to make sure all the resolutions and everything match. My camera is at 29.97 frames per second. The output of the ATEM is 29.97 frames per second. OBS is putting out 29.97 frames per second. So you always want to make sure all those things match up. So hope that helps. But I do want to give some money. I give $50 I'm so distracted sometimes with the chat sometimes because I want to engage in the chat because that's what the whole point of a live stream is. But then people are like, what is he talking about? He's like a kid with ADD. I go to Donors Choose and I look for a middle school STEM project that I can donate to. I like to donate one maybe that has only $50 left to donate to or to reach their goal, because then I can actually help them reach their goal. But let's see. I saw this one complete. I usually try to find one before class. I didn't get a chance, or before the live stream. I didn't get a chance to do that. Help me get my Lego Mindstorms. They can be critical thinkers and problem solving. I'm wondering about that because Lego Mindstorms just got discontinued, and so they actually may be even more expensive. They just came out with a new one. Better virtual lessons with help with a second screen. Let's see. Virtual lessons, second computer monitor. You know what? I am going to support this one, Miss Brennan, because I actually had a video recently on like, if you buy anything, get a second monitor, because I don't know how you can teach virtually, especially if you're fully remote, if you are on one computer screen, because just the entire workflow is stifled. It's like bottlenecked around what you can see. And so she needs $127, but it looked like if you donate, someone's matching it. So if I donate $64, then she'll be able to actually get that because someone will match that. So Miss Brennan from Louisville, Kentucky. I was born in Kentucky, not raised in Kentucky, but I was born in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. So I think you're calling me with your request. You were born in Kentucky. You're asking for something that I said teachers should get. And so I'm going to go and donate $64 to help you reach that goal because someone is matching yours. So let's go ahead and donate. And I like to let them know, let's see. So this was my message to the last person that I donated to. Hey, Miss Brennan, I'm a fellow middle school STEM teacher, and I have a live stream on YouTube. Live stream on my YouTube channel. Each live stream, I take a moment to donate to donate to another middle school STEM class. I totally know the challenge of trying to teach with one screen. Glad this will help you create a better virtual experience for your kids. Smiley face. Post my message. All right. And I hope, Ms. Brennan, that is going to be helpful to you and the work that you're doing for the kids. And yeah, I like doing that. I think giving back, and I've had the benefit of being able to. Is my camera not working? Why is it doing that? Why is it going out? Being able to help other middle school STEM classes from the work that I'm doing here on the YouTube channel and other places. And so, if you're here, say hello. I think we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. You got 10 extra minutes of a live stream today. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. And I think my baby is going to be sleeping till about 11:30. So that gives me about less than an hour to myself to finish up what I'm going to work on. But I appreciate everyone tuning in. Tim and Chris, I appreciate you tuning in and chiming in on the chat. Do I got a chiming in one? A little chime in, I guess so. High fives for y'all. I just got to use all these. I got to use all these sound effects because I wasn't using them the entire time. I hope this was an explosive experience for you all. And I will see you in the next live stream. It'll be earlier in the morning next Wednesday. That is my asynchronous day. And to answer your question, Chris, I am not back to remote. I'm on spring break. We are hybrid. And so I go in person every day except Wednesday. And so Wednesdays I'll still be able to do the live stream in the mornings before my asynchronous time in my office hours. So I will chat with y'all later. MJ, yeah, thanks for all the suggestions about segmenting your day like that. I've done that too. It helps to do that more and efficiently. Thank you so much, MJ. I'm glad that was helpful to you. I think hearing other people's routines gives me ideas a lot of times. And so hopefully hearing mine will give you some ideas of how you can create a little bit more balance in your life. And so I will see all of y'all later. I'll see you soon. New video on Sunday will be about the platform of choice that I use for my coding and robotics class. So if you teach coding and robotics, then be on the lookout for that. I will talk to y'all soon.